All right, boys and girls, we're back. Welcome back to the Paradox. It is not the war zone tonight. It is topic night. I was going to say tropic night. Topic night. It's tropic night. We're all going to be wearing hulas. Everybody's getting laid.
Mocks come out, everybody
Yeah.
love everybody.
Everybody love everybody. All right, tonight on topic night, we are going after steel cages. Greatest steel cage matches of all time. Chris put me on the spot on Thursday and kind of was like, here, you pick it. And I'm like, oh, all right, what do we pick? So tonight is the greatest steel cage matches. My list is going to be a little weird. It's pretty much predominantly WWE. WWF heyday.
Okay.
That's what I grew up on, so that's what I liked.
Well, if you remember back in the day, WCW really didn't have cage matches.
Yeah. So I don't know if you like dug into like Smoky Mountain or fucking Texas or any of this shit, So if you did, that's awesome. But for me, I'm predominantly WWF/E.
Okay.
So, first of all, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Podcast Paradox. Follow us right here, like and subscribe on YouTube, Wrestling Paradox Podcast. We got these shirts up for sale. We're not wearing them tonight. It is topic night. So I'm wearing this shirt, my cease and desist shirt. And that is to you, Cody. This shirt is for you. Every idea that I say on this show, you get and you take and you run with it. And I want my check, or I want you to cease and desist because I know you watch the show. He watches it, Chris.
I know he does.
He watches it.
I know.
They took the exact words out of my mouth and put them in Schiavone's mouth. Seriously. Schiavone. All right. Well, it's quite interesting that we gave a little Schiavone chant there because that involves Jericho. And my first one has Jericho in it. My first steel cage match.
My gosh. We have the same one.
Jericho Bautista?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, great match. I am very surprised that they worked so well together. Just because, Jericho is not a fan of the big guy, part-timer type thing. He hates Lesnar, obviously, and Bautista is almost like a mini Lesnar. Does kind of what he wants, comes and goes as he pleases. The match took place actually on the 800th episode of Monday Night Raw. Mm-hmm. Now, on the 800th episode, it was more of a turning point in
to
wrestling.
PG. To turn PG. Area.
That's where they went PG. That match was the main event that night, and they drew blood.
No, they didn't. They didn't draw blood. Bautista carved his head.
Yeah, and both wrestlers walked away with fines from the match.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it was a great match. It was easily for me a 4.5-star match. I loved it. I went back and actually every match I went and studied a little bit, and every match on my list I went back and watched.
Okay.
And I felt like the entire match, both wrestlers had spots where they were over. Mm-hmm. And they just worked so well together. And it was in that run of Jericho, one of my favorite tag teams. It was almost around that same time. So that was a real interesting spot for Chris Jericho. Wasn't the best character he's ever had in his career, but he made it work. Every character that Chris Jericho's had, he's made it work.
Right.
And he does very well. So that match, I give him a big applaud for that. I hope it ranks high in the Thrasher household.
I didn't put him on a list. Well, number one is my number one favorite cage match, but I put that was number two. That's the number two one that came to mind. But I thought it was a great match. Like you said, Jericho never really liked working with the big guys. I mean, it showed that he hated Goldberg in WCW. He was pushed out of WCW by Kevin Nash and, everything like that. But my match, I know that you did not see this, was Starrcade 85, Magnum TA, and Tully Blanchard in a steel cage I Quit match.
Yeah, no, I was watching it live that night. I remember it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. It told a great story. And within the first 4 minutes, both of them had color. And what's great is I've never seen an I Quit match in a cage match, inside a cage. And back in the day, the ref didn't have like a wireless mic, so they had this mic on a cord. It was like a 30-foot cord, and Magnum TA kept digging it into Tully Blanchard's head, and you could hear it. It was just like, oh, here's, oh my
Jesus.
gosh, yeah, it was brutal, but that's not my favorite. That's just one of my
One of.
favorites.
And I think that's what I think that's what these lists are. They're our favorites. Obviously, everybody has their own tops. So please feel free in the comments to leave your top 5.
Mm-hmm.
We want to hear what you guys think. That's what's important about this show, that everybody has a voice. We are the voice of the voiceless. Call us CM Punk.
Alex Ocean.
I want ice cream bars, damn it. All right, so next on my list, it was a match I mentioned the other night when I mentioned this whole list thing of steel cages, and that was Austin McMahon at St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was 99, 2000.
No, it was definitely 99.
99, yeah. This match, there was a lot of fighting on the outside first. That's where it all started. Took him up in the stands, brought him back down. And the only reason this match made my list is because that is one of the greatest rivalries in all of wrestling. Was McMahon and Austin. It was the blue-collar worker versus the boss. And everybody always wanted to kick their boss's ass, and that's what Austin did every night.
What?
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 There were overall the match was great. There's you had Big Show, aka Paul White, the man who turned Jim Cornette into a cuckold. He debuted that night wearing all black, trying to make him look skinnier. The guy's out of control. It was a good match overall. I liked it. It wasn't long. It was all about 8 minutes. But it was a good match. I liked it. It really explained the story, and that was Austin winning that match to go on to Mania, I believe it was.
Yeah.
To fight The Rock for the title in, I believe, what was that, their second one that they fought?
It would have been the first one for the title.
Yeah. They fought all of 3 times at Mania.
Yeah. You know what's great about that is that was in London, wasn't it?
I believe so.
And I think they flew to London. The great thing is that Saturday, I can remember it very vividly. That Saturday, they were at the National Car Rental Center. And Bennett Auto Supply sponsored the event. And my parents got myself and a friend of mine tickets. And since she worked for Bennett's Auto Supply at the time, we got
wasn't
backstage
that
passes.
friend. So everybody knows, I wasn't that friend.
No, he was not. We got backstage passes, and we got to meet one wrestler, and we didn't get to pick. It was already set up, but it was the Big Boss Man. Coolest guy ever.
That's awesome.
Coolest guy ever. That was the first time I saw Kane without his mask, which was very weird. Like they walked us through the locker room, but like they slammed all the doors, but like some wrestlers came out and like they looked at us and then they went back into the locker room. But coming out, we were going back to our seats, and all of a sudden, here comes Stone Cold walking down the hallway.
Oh, that's
I'm like,
pretty
hey,
badass.
I was like 13 or 14 at the time. I was like, oh, hey, what's up, Stone Cold? He's like, hey, what's up, boy? Like he had this camo jacket on. He had this camo jacket on. He had the Stone Cold hat on. And I'm like, I marked out like a 13, 14-year-old girl. I was like, holy shit, like the biggest name in wrestling just like said hi to me.
That's awesome. I remember.
But going back to that match, though, it told a great story, like you said. It didn't last long, but I like the way it ended because Big Show came through the ring. They battled, and Stone Cold, if I can remember correctly,
he whooped Stone Cold's ass.
And he threw him against the cage, and the cage fell, didn't it?
It like posted open. It came open.
And he fell onto the floor.
Yeah, he fell onto the floor.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned meeting Stone Cold. Dude, I met The Rock when I was like 9 years old. Me and my dad woke up early. He didn't tell me where we were going. And we got on a bus.
I'm not his dad, by the way.
No, he's not my dad. Me and my dad, we get on a bus. We go down to Jim Kelly Autos. Didn't he have dealerships down here? Wasn't it Jim Kelly had dealerships?
Jim Kelly Auto Nation.
Yeah. So we went over to an Auto Nation down somewhere in Miami. And The Rock shows up. like 3.5 hours late.
Typical.
Yeah, typical, right? But he stayed for like 4 extra hours and signed everybody's autographs, which was really cool. Afterwards, me and my dad are waiting at the bus stop, and my dad like fucking takes me back across the street, and he's like, "Hey, can I introduce you to my son?" And asked The Rock this, and like met The Rock, shook his hand, everything. My dad goes to take a picture. It was one of those pictures, and it was out.
Oh.
Swear to God. Never forgive him. Never forgive. I'm like, Dad, go across the street. Leave me here. Just go. Take me home, Rock. Please take me with you. But no, I had to get that out because The Rock's nowhere on my list of any of these matches. So
yeah, neither am I.
Yeah, I had to get that out. Sorry. All right, so go ahead. What is your next on your list?
Okay, I'm going in my Wayback Machine. You ready for this? It is SummerSlam 94. This is where Bret Hart did the elbow drop.
My number one match on Owen.
Mm-hmm.
This was my number one cage match. I love this match.
The only reason why I love this match because it was that true blue cage, the old school cage. But even if you take the cage out, it was a great wrestling match.
Dude, it was such a beautiful wrestling match. It was what was real. The ending is what gets me every time.
Mm-hmm.
Owen hanging upside down in the cage while Bret jumps down and touches is the greatest thing. And then the brawl that ensued after that match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's crazy is everyone forgets like how good of a wrestler Owen Hart was when he put the sharpshooter on Bret during that match, and he looks at the ref and looks at his parents and goes, "I'll break his freaking leg," and he like cinched it in tighter and like rolled back. I'm like, holy cow! But yeah,
Owen Hart, it was just such a blessing to this business. And I understand why his wife doesn't want him in the Hall of Fame. I get it. But if they could just be like, hey, look, put him in the Hall of Fame, but any proceeds go to like our foundations. That's where I would go with it.
That means they would have to bury the hatchet though.
Yeah, they're not gonna. No. Dude, just Owen and Bret, whenever they worked together, because they worked together multiple times. There was always that little brother story. Whenever they worked together, it was just such a great wrestling match.
I mean, I can't remember what match it was, who Bret was wrestling, and Owen was in his corner, and he threw the towel in. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Jerry Lawler. I don't remember. But he threw the towel in, but Bret wasn't ready to give up, and like that's when the heat started.
Was that the Kiss My Foot match?
No, that was a great match, though. I love that match. But yeah, man, I just love the old school blue cage because that's just what we grew up on.
Yeah.
Any cage without a roof is great to me, except for War Games. The original War Games, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, no, definitely. That I can't say enough about that match. Bro, did you watch the episode of Dark Side of the Ring with Owen Hart?
Yeah. And R. Kelly was playing in the background.
I did not know that the Hart family, like Natalia's mom, was going behind her back and like giving the documents to Mr. McMahon and all this other. That was nuts to me because the Hart family still wanted a good relationship with them because they knew they could make money with them.
Right.
But she didn't want that.
Well, if you remember at the time, you had like Teddy Hart was, I think, coming up in the business. Like he was like, 14, 15, but he was still wrestling in Canada. You had Davey Boy's kid that was like 13, 14. He was coming. So they knew that they had like shit in the pipeline, Do
you think that they still haven't talked to Oj or any of them? Like the Harts, like Bret and stuff? Just like, how's my nephew doing?
I don't know. Like,
maybe we can get Bret for an interview. Hey, Bret, if you're watching.
Hey, Cody, if you're still friends with Bret, can you
after you get beat up by some random guy at Hall of Fame, give us a call.
Right.
Any chance of getting Bret Hart ever is out the window now.
Right. Gosh.
I don't want the worst of the two brothers.
Only if we bring him on and R. Kelly, I Believe I Can Fly can be coming on.
It's been some real sunny days, pal.
I think Sean's lost his smile.
All right, so
I
that's another
already know what your
podcast.
next. I already know what your next
Who?
cage
Who?
match is.
Who?
Just go ahead. I already have a feeling. I already know. I think we have the same one except for two.
It is. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. It is Edge versus Matt Hardy
Oh, okay.
at Unforgiven 2005.
Okay.
This was real life playing in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
This was about as real as you can get with a wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still one of the firm believers that believes the Matt Hardy break
Hates him.
into Raw. No, but
Yeah.
the break into Raw was a real shoot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was not worked. He got on the ring, called Adam a son of a bitch, and everything else, and they came out and grabbed him and hauled him out the back, and I think that's as real as it can get still.
Right.
This match had everything. You had chairs, you had interferences, they got color. This was probably this has to be one of the best cage matches I've ever seen. Just the way everything unfolded. I know that's tough to say, but for me, growing up in that time, and Matt and Jeff and Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys and Dudley Boys, they put tag team wrestling to where it is for me.
Right.
And to see those two guys have a real life problem and have it unfold in the ring, it was such stiff work, but it was so great to see. Because even through all the real life, Edge still played the asshole bad guy. Like, he knew how to pull that card out. He made Hardy look really good. And I don't think he had to do that, but he did it.
Yeah, that was around the time when Edge changed his music too. It was before he became, the rated R superstar. It was when we went from "You Think You Know Me," and then they went into that badass entrance song, all the time.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, it was a great match.
You're like the next Ariana Grande.
I look like her too. It's kind of
weird. You More like Adele.
Hey, she's lost 100 pounds too. So.
All right. I mean, what did you think of this match? Does this match make your list anywhere?
No, it didn't. It was an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely an honorable mention. But I looked at it to where matches like that they don't need a cage. Like, I think it would have been cool if it was like a Falls Count Anywhere, no holds barred, let them beat the shit out of each other type. Because there was a story behind it.
There was. To me, it was one of Matt's greatest matches. Not so much for Edge. One of Edge's this falls in the better matches Edge has had, but it's not as. It could be one of Matt Hardy's best matches, but for Edge, like that hardcore match at WrestleMania 17, was it?
The one with Mick Foley?
Yeah, that right there is probably the greatest match I've ever seen Edge.
Was that Edge or was that RKO? Was that Randy Orton that had it with him at 17?
It was the hardcore match where Mick Foley went.
It was Edge. He speared him through the ring.
Yeah,
through the ropes. Yeah.
Dude, that match right there is what does it for me, because you don't expect that out of Edge. You expect that out of Mick Foley. No one expected that out of Edge.
And the thing is, too, that was very dangerous for Edge to spear him onto a flaming table, because Mick Foley was wearing his flannel vest and a shirt, and Edge wasn't wearing anything. They just speared him through the flaming table. I'm like, holy cow.
I know both guys are very proud of that match.
Yeah.
I've heard it on multiple accounts. So, but yeah, no, Lita.
I'm glad you can hear it, because Mick can only hear it on one ear.
So can I? I'm having technical difficulties with this AirPod. I don't know what's wrong. It hooks up to my phone. It doesn't hook up to my computer. Can somebody help me?
So to mess with him, I just talk like this.
Wait, are both not working now? All right, so that was Unforgiven 2005.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I don't remember the year, but I got Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit on Raw.
Yes.
Where Chris Benoit does the diving headbutt from the top of the cage, which now looking back on it isn't so great now that we know about CTE and what it turned out to be.
Don't be a pussy.
But he does the diving headbutt, and Kurt Angle does one of the most beautiful moonsaults off the top of the cage. It was like poetry in motion, basically. Like just the way he just like flipped, and it was like a slow turn, and then landed perfectly on Chris
It's not
Benoit.
better than the BME by Mr. Christopher Daniels, but okay, it's good.
No, I'm just letting you know. A Christopher Daniels match is on my list, by the way.
I'm gonna mark out so hard.
Yes.
I'm gonna mark out so hard. I love good old CD, man. Christopher Daniels is amazing.
Yeah.
Guy's awesome.
And when I mentioned the match, because that's my last match, because you already talked about Jericho and Bautista. When I mentioned the match, you're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, how did I forget this match?"
Was Jericho Bautista one of your was that really follow up there for you?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. I really like that match. I'm so glad that we can agree on that.
Yeah.
So do you have any more comments? I love that match. Benoit and Angle definitely put on great work because they were both true wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
Benoit having, the history of Canada behind him, and we all know how tough it is to come out of Canada for wrestlers, especially back in the day. You usually went through Stu Hart's school, and Jim Cornette always said they would make them wrestle bears under the porch. And I think that's about as real as it can get.
Wait, it was Jim talking about the Stu Hart's wrestling school or his bedroom?
Both. It was a toss-up question.
Boo, 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 boo.
You motherfucker.
Hey, Big Show, I want you to fuck my wife with a double cheeseburger, extra onions, extra mayo, motherfucker.
But no, both worked really well.
I'm gonna watch, motherfucker.
I'm so happy Jim Cornette has made his debut on the Wrestling Paradox podcast.
It's Joey Janela can't wrestle. He's a fat motherfucker.
Jelly Nutella. It's almost as good as you're running with ECW there, Mr. Cornette.
Right, yeah. And ROH.
Dude, yo, I've been watching a lot of Jim Cornette lately just because I wanted to hear if he comments on.
And he's been watching his wife getting railed by other guys too, so a lot in common.
A lot.
He watches guys in underwear, and you watch him watch guys in underwear.
Well, so I went back and watched ECW run-in, and he was commenting on it as the video was playing. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how Jerry Lawler just went off and fucking whacked Dreamer in his fucking nutsocket.
And it ruptured his testicle.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And there was he's like, I went over and I whacked Dreamer 6 times with my racket, and he no-sold me. So I just fucking walked away from him. He's like, I didn't realize at the time that his fucking nuts were exploding in his goddamn underwear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so was other wrestlers in Jim Cornette's bedroom. Yeah. Dude, I remember that.
Sabu said that Jerry Lawler went off the deep end and did that on purpose.
Well, I remember that. That was Heatwave '97. I can remember it was Dreamer versus Raven because that was Raven's last match in ECW before going to WCW, and he beat Raven, and that's when the lights went out, and it was RVD, Sabu. Then the lights went out again, and then it was Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler had to pause because there was something wrong where someone was supposed to do a run-in, or Taz was supposed to some, and that's when Jerry Lawler went off the script, and he just started ripping everybody in the building. This bingo hall, blah blah blah. Oh, you're fat white trash. No, it was in Philly. It was at the ECW.
Which one was down here?
That was Hardcore Heaven '97.
Hardcore Heaven '97.
Mm-hmm. At the War Memorial Auditorium. That was when Rick Rude debuted. Yeah. Yeah. And
did he have a mustache?
Yes, he did. He sided with the triple threat.
Very nice. Yep. All right, so you give me Kurt Angle and Benoit. My next it's funny you say Hardcore Heaven because I feel like this match was very hardcore. It was a lot of risk taking off the top of the cage. It happened at Unforgiven 2004. Okay. And this was the Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian. Okay. This was for the titles. You had the Hardy Boys coming in with a lot of momentum at the time. They were very hot, and this was when the titles didn't stay on the team for a long time. I remember it like spun between the Hardys, the Dudleys, and ENC, like so much. Like there
Oh,
would
don't
be a
forget the
champion
Los
for
Conquistadors.
yeah.
Los Conquistadors won it too.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So, but this match was a little weird because there was so you can escape in these cage matches. I know in the older ones there was no escaping. It was pinfall or submission. You won. There was a winner. There was a loser. Now in this match you can escape, but both teammates have to escape to win the match.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff got out almost rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt was kind of in there by himself, but Matt put on a hell of a match with taking on two of them. And then Jeff made his way back into the ring. He did a beautiful whisper in the wind off the top of the cage, which was really cool to see. You know, they did a nice suplex. There was a superplex with Edge and Christian were in the middle of the top rope, and they pulled Matt Hardy back over and like superplexed him into the ring, which was really cool to see. It was wild. They definitely put on some good spots to that match, and anything with the Hardys and either Edge and Christian or Dudley's, they definitely knew what they were doing in the ring.
Yeah, I think I think the least common denominator is what you said earlier about Matt Hardy and Edge. The least common denominator is it's the people in the ring. I mean, I think Edge, you said it was probably one of Matt Hardy's best matches of his career in that one cage match, and it was just Edge's regular day at the office. I think if you do the least common denominator on that, it's Edge in the ring in these type of style matches makes it look real, makes it look eye-catching. You know, makes you want to watch more. Because I think if you take Christian out of it and you put like Randy Orton, you fast track it, 4 years, you put Randy Orton in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you still have a great match because Edge is in it. Because Edge, I mean, look what he took this. He did a spear off the top of the ladder or from the top rope.
Yeah.
And he knocked himself out.
Ladder. Yeah.
So like it was high risk, no reward, basically. The way he, wrestled those type of matches.
Yeah, Adam Copeland definitely gave everything to wrestling.
Right.
Everything. And he's still doing it to this day. I mean, he told McMahon, either you hire me back and let me perform or I'm going to another company.
Right.
And it would have been weird to see him walk out in AEW, but it definitely would have been interesting.
It would have been awesome, though. It would have been awesome. Could you imagine the feud he would have with Mox or Jericho?
Dude.
Or even Cody, as much as you hate him, but the matches.
Oh, him and Cody would have great matches.
Oh, just because the people that are in the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have had a great match with Pineapple Pete.
Edge, he would have a great match with Darby Allin and Marco Stunt.
Yeah.
But
what?
Yeah, exactly. I know Marco Stunt have a great match. But it's just the way that Edge, he elevates people's careers. Like I can't tell you the last time I saw a bad Edge match. And I mean, going off of what The Undertaker said about the greatest, wrestling match ever with Randy Orton and Edge, he said that it almost brought a tear to his eye. That given that the situation, and everything along those lines. So.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Edge is fun to watch. He really is that blue collar guy who just came into wrestling, and we watched him grow up in wrestling. Mm-hmm. We really did. I mean, from being the poet who really doesn't know who he is to becoming the rated R superstar to becoming this legend that gave everything to the ring. It was cool to see, and to see his mom, I think a lot in the crowd was awesome as well. For his mom to be part of it, so subtly too. Just like she was so subtle. Like if you saw her, you knew who she was, but she didn't like show her face. Like Mrs. fucking drunk dad who's drunk on natty ices.
Nah.
Just jumping in the ring.
About to throw hands.
All right, so let's hear it. Who you got?
But the great thing though is do you know how Edge broke into business? Like how he got into wrestling school?
No.
He wrote an essay to like the Canadian like newspaper because they were having an essay contest. So whoever wins it gets like full paid tuition to the wrestling school in Canada, and he won it. He won like a 7-page essay, and
That's
it was
pretty
actually
cool.
really cool. And when his first, do you know his first wrestling name?
No.
You're gonna pop for this. It's Sexton Hardcastle.
What? What'd you just call me?
Sexton Hardcastle.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I thought that was like the best thing ever. He I'm trying to see because he wrestled with somebody else. Oh, he stabled with Christian
Mm-hmm.
and Rhino
Oh,
in
that's pretty
Canada.
cool.
Yeah. So, but he was Sexton Hardcastle and Christian Cage.
Sexton Hardcastle.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm getting hardcastled for that right now.
All right, my number one. You ready for this? I want your full attention for this.
Full attention on.
Full attention. Ready?
Been here. You feel me? Do you feel me right now?
This
I'm right
is
there.
from the first lockdown pay-per-view that TNA did. It is Elix Skipper and Christopher Daniels versus America's Most Wanted, Wildcat Chris Harris, and James Storm.
First of all, America's Most Wanted was such an underrated tag team.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know James Storm's first match in TNA was with Christopher Harris?
Mm-hmm.
And then that was their first match. That was the night they got signed. They didn't know they were. That was their. How do we, can we get into the business type of match, or can we get into this company? And they ended up offering them both contracts, and then they thought they were splitting. They thought they were.
They had so much chemistry that they worked together.
Yeah, they were like, no, we're gonna do a tag team. That was fun to watch.
Now, the only reason why I said I picked this match is because this was the first year that they did the 6 sides. So imagine it's 6 sides of steel. Okay, there's a big spot where Wildcat Chris Harris is trying to get out of the cage. Christopher Daniels is holding his legs, so now Harris is sitting on top. Elix Skipper gets up on top of the cage and runs on top of the chain link bar.
Yeah,
does
and then
Hurricanrana,
yes.
Bro, that match, first off, it starts off weird because I've never seen a tag team match in a 6 sides of steel. It just looked awkward, but it told a great story. 15 minutes in, I mean, it was a first match on the pay-per-view, so 5 to 10 minutes into the match, Chris Harris gets color, but he cuts himself too deep and too long to where his face is covered and there's pools of blood on the mat. Daniels gets color. James Storm gets color. Elix Skippers doesn't, but he takes all the bumps. Like he bumps off the top. He's getting slammed into the corner post of the steel. Great fucking match, hands down.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny. I see that spot pop up every once in a while on Facebook of the Hurricane Rana into the run across the beam into the Hurricane Rana down onto the ring. You see it every once in a while pop up on Facebook. It's really cool to see.
And Christopher Harris did a BME from the top of the cage.
Yeah,
but they were standing. So
or Christopher Daniels or Harris.
I mean, Christopher Daniels. Yeah. He did a BME from the top of the cage, but they weren't laying down, and it wasn't like a triple best moonsault ever. It was just best moonsault ever off the top of the cage, and they caught him. But he landed on his feet. That was the great thing.
Dude, I have to give an honorable mention here to one of the better cage matches I've seen as of recently and lately, and that's Cody and Wardlow.
Mm-hmm.
That match told a really good story. Wardlow dominated that match the whole way, and Cody put on a hell of a show. He
fractured his toe doing the moonsault off the top.
That moonsault off the top was just beautiful to see.
He fractured a week before the Revolution pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like, oof.
So, but no, man, that's some lists right there. It's not bad. We had a lot of that we agreed on. I was surprised.
Yeah. Normally I hate your guts, so.
What? Telling your mom. All right, so that is it for our list tonight. Make sure you guys like and subscribe this, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget to check out the shirts, all the merchandise. I'll have links up shortly on YouTube. And make sure you guys give a follow to CCWFL as well. Don't forget about them. They're coming up. They're finally taking their show out on the road and going to Tennessee. And Super Crazy's in the building. You sure you don't want to make a drive to this, man? It's only like a 13-hour drive.
I know. I think it's 11 and a half. I've done it once before, but
it's not bad.
No. Like we're having trouble staying safe in our own state. I don't want to go to someone else's state, and
But it's Super Crazy.
I know, but Super Crazy. Maybe CCW. Wink, 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 wink. Can bring Super Crazy down here.
Yo.
Maybe.
Yo. CCWFL. Are you listening?
Yeah, I mean, Cody watches the show.
Cody watches the show. He takes our ideas. We might as well give him to CCW. We actually like you guys.
I mean, CCW, I mean, a Super Crazy and Tajiri wouldn't be a bad match to watch.
Versus Primo and Epico.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not dropping any hints, but.
And don't worry, you're going to see us next time at CCW as well.
For sure.
We will definitely be there. So, all right, guys, that is the show tonight. We appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you guys give us your we got through this show really quick.
That's what she said.
Tessa Blanchard got released.
No, she got fired.
Or fired. And now WWE is interested in signing her.
Yeah. Hey, and what did I tell you about the Good Brothers signing with TNA?
Mm-hmm.
It's a strong, strong thing that they're signing with TNA.
Yeah. So that is it. That's it.
That is it, guys.
Jim Cornette's still doing his podcast, too. He hasn't stopped.
Well, goddamn, motherfucker. Someone's got to pay these wrestlers to fuck my wife.
Dude, I was listening to him the other day, and he shut down his fucking store. And he's like, the only reason people shut down their stores is so they don't know what the fuck they're doing, or they're too goddamn stupid to run a business. But not me. I just couldn't handle it. It was too much. I was like, really? That's why you shut down your store? All right, bud.
Well, no, because I read that he put out something. It was like an action figure or some shit like that. It was like he brought back a retro action figure, and people like crashed the server.
Yeah.
Trying to buy it, and I'm like, wow. Jeez.
Guilty.
Right.
I was on there. I'm like, yeah, give me that fucking thing right away. I want
it. It's funny is his wife said the same thing.
You are on fire tonight, too. All right, man. I will catch up with you later. Paradox, we will catch up with you later. We will see you Thursday in the war zone. Right, Chris? That's when you wear the right shirt. Chris, I can't believe you came on here with the fucking wrong shirt, man. What is wrong with